The ham radio internet space has been a panic lately, under news that the FCC may be banning Chinese radios. A lot of people are getting worked up and asking a lot of questions. So I think the first question really is, are Chinese radios actually banned? And the answer is not really. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about a couple of articles, and here's the first one that I pulled up, and it's from SC Media. And it says, FCC bans U.S. electronics testing in risky Chinese labs. So let's go down here and see what that means. The Federal Communications Commission has moved to prohibit testing of electronic devices for sale in the United States by Chinese labs controlled directly by firms on its covered list. And this would mean firms that have done stuff that our government believes is sketchy. It says, with electronics for import to the U.S. being required to undergo the agency's equipment authorization process, reports Reuters. Numerous Chinese labs evaluating nearly 3/4 of all electronics were linked to Chinese Communist Party, either state-owned companies or state military, according to the FCC. These labs provide a gateway into the U.S. telecommunications infrastructure. It's hard not to manage an unreliable lab, one beholden to foreign adversaries, could sign off on insecure gear entering the U.S. market, FCC Chair Brendan Carr said. So such a move, which has been slammed by the Chinese embassy in Washington, comes as the FCC approved a proposal disclosure requirements for organizations linked to China and other U.S. adversaries. So I think what's important to talk about is that a ham radio doesn't really need a Part 97 certification. Amplifiers that take an amplified signal from one device to the amplifier and then project it out into an antenna for propagation, they do require an FCC Part 97 certification, but not the radio itself. But it gets a little tricky. A lot of the radios that we buy today have Bluetooth devices in them or GPS devices. Bluetooth and GPS devices do require certifications. The other thing that I want to mention is a lot of the Chinese radios, specifically handhelds, transmit outside of the FCC designated amateur radio bands. Like the police frequencies, fire frequencies, those are covered under Part 90. And they also transfer into hobbyist frequencies like FRS, GMRS, MERS, CB, not CB. And that requires a Part 95 certification. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky. Some of these radios do require, if they're transmitting outside the amateur radio bands or have embedded devices. A lot of times what we'll see is Chinese radios will have a Part 15 incidental radiator certification on there in order to kind of trick people into thinking that the radio has been approved. Okay, here's another article from ntd.com. And let's scroll up here and take a quick look at it. New FCC rules ban Chinese labs from certifying U.S. electronics. Now, I think the bulk of this is really not aimed at or targeted towards amateur radios or amateur radios that can transmit outside the amateur radio bands in the United States, but towards other type of equipment. So I don't want to read all of this because we kind of covered most of this. Federal Communications Commission, FCC, adopted new rules on May 22nd to ban the participation of bad labs. I think we called them covered labs in the electronics testing process targeting the Chinese Communist regime's involvement in particular. And if you come down here, this is where I want to pay attention to. It says, the FCC says this involves tens of thousands of devices every year, including smart devices, baby monitors, computers, network gear, and others, potentially cell phones and IoT-type devices. I wonder how Meshtastic plays into that. We'll find out in time. But what they're saying is that these certification labs are not doing their due diligence and sending potentially harmful equipment over here into the United States. A lot of times that equipment can potentially have embedded hardware or software for nefarious purposes that a hacker or somebody might use to exploit our national security posture. And that's why everybody's getting whipped up over it. But it probably really has more to do with the political landscape and the ongoing economic tensions between the United States and China. Here's one last article we'll take a look at, and it's from RCR Wireless News. And it says FCC bans bad labs. There's that word again, from certifying devices. And what I wanted to do is cover right here where it says the FCC emphasized that new bad lab rules will ensure that test laboratories and telecommunications certification bodies which test and verify compliance of devices such as smartphones, computers, fitness trackers, and other IoT gadgets, network gear, and baby monitors do not have ownership interests that could compromise our national security. Devices using radio frequency signals have been tested for compliance with FCC rules such as their RF emissions levels and are certified to meet those rules by various test labs around the world. Until now, test labs' authority to conduct that testing have been accepted by the U.S. regulators and was based on their technical ability to conduct the testing accurately without taking ownership into account. But all that's changing. So does that mean when our radios are going to be banned, the ones from China? No, it means that they're going to have to go through certification, if applicable and appropriate, by a different lab than some of the labs that they're currently going through. Does this mean that all labs in China that are doing this certification are bad? Nope, it's only the ones that are on the bad labs list. Anyhow, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or recommendations, go ahead and post them below and I'll do my best to respond. As always, thank you for watching.